Hi everyone, Ashley here and welcome to another video on my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be sharing how I made this cute tropical themed thank you card using some of Lawn Fawn's latest release supplies. And as usual, to see the full list of supplies that I used, just check out that description below the video where you'll see that I've listed all of the supplies in case you're interested. So without further ado, let's get into the card making. I've already assembled some of the pieces I'm going to be using. So I assembled this sky piece, which is cut to 5.5, the full length of the landscape card, by just slightly less than 4.25 because I didn't need it to take up the whole length. Then I've got a grass piece which I cut with a grassy border die, same width as that upper sky piece. And finally I have this tropical frame which is made using one of Lawn Fawn's latest released dies. This is the tropical backdrop die, I believe it's called, and it creates this beautiful tropical leaf frame, which is the size of a standard size A2 card, so 4.25 by 5.5. And I just cut that out of some sort of emerald green cardstock. So I'm going ahead and setting up the scene here. I have a white card base, which again is just standard A2 at 4.25 by 5.5. And I use some liquid glue to glue down first the sky piece and then the grass piece. You'll see that there is a little bit of white space at the top and bottom of the card, and that's just because I didn't quite cut those pieces quite long enough to fill up the whole card height, but it didn't matter because once I glue that tropical frame on top, the whole thing is covered. Okay, next I wanted the word thanks, and I have this scripty thanks die from Lawn Fawn. So I took a piece of brown cardstock and I embossed it with a wood grain embossing folder off camera, and then I can die cut it with that thanks die, and you'll still get that wood grain embossing detail on the die cut, which is really pretty. So I'm just going to lay that in the middle of the card and I can go ahead with the rest of the sentiment. So for this, I wanted to stamp, here's a toucan of my appreciation, which is part of the Toucan Do It stamp set from Lawn Fawn. I wanted to stamp it on some pearlescent vellum, and I used some red ink. But as you can see here in the video, it ended up getting really sort of blurred because the ink seeped into the vellum and spread. And I think it's just because of the type of ink I used. I've used black ink on vellum many times, the pearlescent vellum, and I've never had a problem. So I think this red ink I used was just really juicy, and it was too juicy for the vellum. So I scrapped that idea and I just ended up stamping the sentiment straight onto that card front instead. So here I'm using my mini Misty and I'm stamping that same sentiment. So here's a toucan of my appreciation in that same red ink, and on this paper it works perfectly fine. By the way, I forget if I mentioned, but these background papers, the sky and the grass, are from Lawn Fawn's pattern paper pack called Watercolour Wishes, which are really pretty papers for scenes because they've just got this really nice subtle watercolor pattern. Now, I had not added glue to all of these leaves as I put this tropical frame die onto the card because I wasn't sure where I was going to lay the images, and I wanted to leave some space to tuck them in behind the leaves. So once I had kind of gone ahead and placed all the images where I thought that I wanted them to be, and I kind of had an idea of which leaves I knew needed to be elevated so that I could tuck images in behind, I could go around and just add a little bit of glue, like little tiny dots of glue behind the leaves to kind of stick them down so they're not kind of poking up. So I'm doing that now, just kind of going around the whole card with a little bit of liquid glue behind each leaf and sticking it down. And of course I left that bottom leaf up because I knew I wanted to tuck the jaguar in behind it. Next I can go through and just add little dots of glue to that thanks scripty die and stick it right down to the card front. And then finally comes the fun part of sort of decorating the card with all of the critters. Now I actually had this huge stamping and coloring extravaganza the other day where I stamped out a whole bunch of new images from Lawn Fawn, many of them critters from this Toucan Do It stamp set. So that's why you're not seeing me stamp and color these images. You can actually see the little container on the left side where I store them all in their individual little compartments so I can keep them organized. But yeah, that's why you're not seeing me stamp and color them in this video because I did that off camera in a big sort of marathon session. So if you do want to see me stamping and coloring these images, I have plenty of other videos on my channel. Just go to my homepage and you'll see lots of videos where I'm stamping and coloring many different images, including some of these ones in previous recent videos. Okay, so now I'm just kind of gluing all of these elements down. For some of them I added some foam squares to give them a little bit of elevation, and for the rest I'm just adding some liquid glue. And that is it. That is the card for today. This was a quick video because I did already have those images stamped in colors, so that took away from the time to put this card together, which was really nice. But yeah, it's a fairly simple design as well, but I think it's really sweet, especially with those tropical leaves around, kind of framing up the scene. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you want to see more of my videos, like I mentioned, definitely head over to my video homepage and you'll see lots more there, especially ones with coloring. Make sure to check out my Instagram too, which is linked down below, and I share a lot more card photos there. Thank you, and I will see you next time. Bye!